Pamela, welcome to Mom Life Unfiltered. This is our mompreneur season. I am your co-host, Maliha Ahmad.
I'm your co-host, Karina Emery.
And we have a special guest, Pamela Adewoyen James. Pamela, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. You have a really, not every time do we get moms that are in the fine jewelry space. So please talk to us about how you got into fine jewelry and basically your career journey. Let's start off there.
Yeah. So I started out with fashion jewelry first over a decade ago. And I'll say truthfully, it started as a hobby and a form of therapy. I was self-taught, YouTube videos. I would physically walk around the stores in New York City and would go into like J. Crew and go to the jewelry section and actually stare like, how is this necklace put together? And then I would go to the stores that would sell those parts with my pictures and be like, I need this, I need this, I need these beads. So that was fun for me because I was studying and preparing to go into law school, which is a very stressful process. And I realized that there were really two sides of me. You can be the top scholar or corporate professional, but also have this creative side, which I felt like I never really wanted to talk about because in super professional settings, you're not like, oh yes, I made this ring or I made these earrings. You know, it's like I'm representing my client and didn't feel comfortable in that aspect of myself. Fast forward, things really kind of took off in 2020. I would call it like the post George Floyd era. There was an influx of people that wanted to support Black-owned businesses, and I had my website set up, and like I would hand make everything myself, and it was for fun. But then I was featured in Cosmo magazine, and in less than 24 hours, I looked at my metrics and like 40,000 people, you know, that had taken a look at my website. And I was surely unprepared because this was a fun hobby for me. Everybody dreams about like getting this mass press, which can be great if you're prepared. But I was like working. I have a full-time job. I'm a lawyer by trade. So I was very confused and I'm getting like ping, ping. And I'm like, is that an order? Because I was so used to seeing only a few. And, you know, during this time, this is when there were riots and like the warehouse that had my boxes was set on fire. So it was like pure chaos that you would imagine for a sidepreneur, right? And after I had my daughter, I was so burnt out. I was like, I am grateful for these opportunities, but I did not go to school to learn how to, you know, scale a jewelry business, how to be an entrepreneur. Really, it was like, I'm going to be general counsel one day. And I remember being in the hospital after giving birth to my daughter and getting like emails from my business. And I had some help at the time, which, you know, fast forward, I realized was not the best help that I had hired. And I'm getting these things that I have to respond to. And I was like, whoa, you know what? I would be so much happier if I got to actually focus on true heirloom, high quality, higher priced items, and as opposed to working with multiple and a multitude of lower priced items. So that was what really was the push for me to go into fine jewelry.
Right.
And in doing my research as a lawyer, I started looking at like the laws, like what's the import rules for diamonds and gold, like looking at suppliers and doing the research. And when I looked at the laws, I was like, wait a second, the definition of conflict free is to me, like as a lawyer, written in such a vague way that it allows for a lot of gray areas, which made me very uncomfortable. And I didn't like that. So I really pushed my business to shift from fashion jewelry into fine jewelry. And I'm on a mission to become the nation's like fastest growing African owned fine jeweler. And fine jewelry business with a mission, a social impact mission to give back to Africa. So with the proceeds of my fine jewelry business, we are building a water well in Niger. We just completed it, and it's providing clean water to people in the area and in the village, up to 20,000 residents. And,
Wow.
you know, as my
That's
business
amazing.
grows, I am committed to building more and providing more resources to people that are in regions that are typically extracted, like billions of dollars of natural resources are extracted from Africa every year. And I myself, as a proud Nigerian, had a hard time naming even 5 African fine jewelers. So I'm on a mission to change that, like to be that name recognition and for it to be a full circle purchase. Like, you know, when you are getting something from me that it's responsibly sourced, I truly do have, you know, a responsibility to ensure that the materials that my clients are getting really are like, they go beyond conflict free. You know, I care about safe working conditions, like child labor. There are a lot of things that are not mentioned in the actual legal definition of conflict free that people would have concerns about if they really knew what was going on. So that's kind of where I am, and it fuels me every day because I know I get to make custom pieces that truly do make a difference on both sides of the spectrum.
Wow. Karina, I feel like you can somewhat relate to her, but in a different way, because with the cape, we have like our handmade wristlets and everything that kind of attached to the phone, and things are ethically sourced. So I feel like there's some synergy there.
Yeah, I mean, you know, hearing Pamela talk about how she goes about this is like super inspiring. And, you know, I looked into, because I feel like, especially in the e-commerce industry, it's like so easy to just say, you know, let's plant a tree or let's do the, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like just to do something.
Right.
But it never felt right for me to do that, which sounds weird. And you know what I mean? But I'm still looking for the perfect cause to support. And I just don't want to do it because everyone else is doing it. I want to do it because I fully stand behind this.
Absolutely.
And
right.
I mean, planting tree is amazing, you know, like don't get me wrong, but you know, what you're just describing, it sounds like you're personally so involved and emotionally too. And I want to kind of like find something like that too. So I'm very, very impressed and inspired. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I think in Karina, like when I've heard about Pamela talk about her well, it's not a well, it's like a huge water tower. Like the ones that you see that
Amazing.
are like high up in the sky. It's a huge, huge water tower that's like a building. That's like, it's so high. When I saw that, I was like, this isn't a well, because I'm thinking,
I mean, do you actually call that? Why don't you say water tower? Like, why do you call it well?
I never thought about that actually, but you're right.
It's a water tower. It's huge.
It is really big.
Huge. It is providing the water for Niger, right?
Niger, yeah.
Niger, like 20,000. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
So, Pamela, how do you feel like your children have inspired your entrepreneur journey, or even like your career in law? Do you feel like, and they're young, so I don't know. I assume every mom kind of is like, this is you, I'm creating this legacy for you. But
yeah,
how do you feel?
I was thinking about it recently because I had a client, you know, I was giving him the update because when he had purchased the engagement ring from me, the well wasn't completed. So I was just like, hey, FYI, you know, this is what's going on. And his response just made my day. I don't do this for kudos, which is why I had to fight myself because I don't put a lot of this information on the website, and I'm working on it, right? It's like, it truly makes me happy on my own, but I realized that this is really bigger than me. What I'm doing with Lola Day and these initiatives in Africa, like, will, God willing, supersede me, and will be something that my kids can look at and see how hard I've worked. And having kids, I used to be able to stay up till like 2 o'clock in the morning, right? And work on my passions, still having a full-time job. And now as schedules have changed and you have to get sleep, some version of sleep. I have found having kids has impacted me because I realize it doesn't matter how many hours I have in a day. I will find a way to make sure that I prioritize spending time with my kids, but also recognizing that it gives me a fuel that I felt before on my own personally, but I definitely feel like I have to get some of this stuff done because, like my kids are counting on me. My son can't say it yet. My daughter can't say it yet, but I feel that innate, like, burn and desire that I couldn't really put into words before. So I feel like it's pushed me into truly trying to build something that is legacy focused and bigger than me and can thrive and grow without me being so present, because that's another aspect is I've had to find ways to truly scale my business and build a team that can work on things so that I can give my kids a bath and like focus on story time, because those are true priorities for me.
Karina, what do you think about that?
How do they inspire my entrepreneurial journey? I am the person who I am today because of my kids. And because they hold up a mirror every day. And that's how I became the person I am and the entrepreneur I am. And that's why I'm making the decisions I'm making. And that's how I'm leading a team and, and so on and so forth. So that's, I feel like, very inspiring. And, I feel like people don't really, or mompreneurs maybe don't see it that way or don't realize that that's actually the case, if that makes sense. So I feel very inspired by them because they hold up. It's hard. It's hard. It's a lot of, looking in the mirror and realizing some things are not always easy, but it's a great journey, I think, just to myself.
Yeah. Pamela, what do you feel like you need more of right now? What do you want to do?
Money. No.
Right.
And sleep. Money
right
and
on.
Sleep would probably be my two answers. Probably on a deeper level, I feel like I'm in a period of adjustment and watching my kids grow, and balancing these other responsibilities. I probably need to give myself grace more because I have wildly ambitious goals, but I challenge myself often, like, if my goals don't scare me, are they big enough? But sometimes maybe they're a little too big. Calm down. Give yourself some grace if you set particular goals, whether they're, financial or physical or just a number of different things that I think about and look to achieve, but realize I'm not a robot. I'm not a robot, and sometimes life will throw curves your way that may derail you, and you still, like, my kids don't care if I have a migraine. They're like, "Mommy, milk," So there are certain aspects of your life that, regardless of what is happening, has to keep going. So think I need more of grace for myself and to realize that I'm doing the best that I can in whatever version in that time period it is.
And what types of hobbies or things would you like to explore more outside of being an entrepreneur and a mom? Is there anything that comes to mind that you would like to do for yourself?
That is a great question. So before I started working on my jewelry business and before I had kids, I was really big into DIY. Like I was building like full flower walls. I have multiple cans of spray paint, glue guns. Like I have always truly loved to create things. And I realized I had a difficult time once that creativity is connected to financial goals because now sometimes you feel like you can't do some of the things that you may want to do as much because you have to focus on those things that generate revenue. So outside of being a mom and my jewelry business, I want to learn how to sew. My husband actually bought me a sewing machine and it's been in a box. I cannot, it has been in the box. I truly never even opened it because where's the time, but that is something that I've been thinking about. Like, when can I set aside the goals? But then that feels kind of intimidating to watch tutorials or set a class, but I would love to learn.
I mean, I feel like this is also a thing. If you proceed with you're lucky enough to have, to earn money with what you love to do, being creative. But I feel like if your kids see you pursue a hobby, which could be sewing, the older they get, the more important it is, obviously. But I feel like it's so good for my kids, at least, to see when I do something outside of work because they realize that I actually take care of myself. So go for it. Make the time for it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Get it out of the box.
I know.
The sooner the better.
Unpack it. Right.
We gotta get it out the back of the closet.
The sewing machine. It's probably deep in the closet.
It's deep.
What is something that you would like to do less of? I like the more and the less questions because it's typically how I start my year. I like to do more of this, less of this. And I try to, and we're approaching that time, right? And I try to like think about the more that I want and then the less that needs to happen. And I got inspired by someone that created this list. She put it on Instagram and people started to join her, the more and less list, because it's like outside of these goals and these resolutions, it's more of like, I like to be more present and I like to do less scrolling. So what would you like to do less of?
Two things come to mind, and I was trying to come up with other things to not say these two things, but the first one that popped in my mind was less worrying. That all ties up, my personality, thinking about a lot of things, and I am a queen overthinker. So I would love to do less worrying and really trust every aspect of this process. And the
worrying part is also not very, it doesn't get better when you become a mom.
No, not at all. It gets 10 times worse, at least for myself. And the second thing that came to my mind, and I was trying to avert exposing this aspect of vulnerability, is less putting myself last or not making myself as much of a priority. And I feel like my day starts and again, here comes that list of things that I want to do. And then, an email pops up or this pops in, and I want to have more discipline to build in real time for myself on a daily basis. And I know that all of that is really important for your mental health, physical health, and I have not been doing the best job at that. So that is
thank you for
definitely on my
sharing that
list.
because yeah, we need to hear it. The vulnerability is necessary, and I'm sure a lot of moms listening can relate to both things that you want to do less of. So I think that's important. I want to switch gears a bit and talk about business. Was there a time that you felt small in business? And how did you deal with that? How do you deal with feeling small in business?
Oh, for sure. One example of a time that I felt small in business was probably my first time dealing with a retailer. A major retailer had reached out. They found me online and wanted to start conversations about bringing me on for a collection. And I remember after talking to them, and they're like, we're really excited. This is what we want to do. And then it's like, we would also need a minimum of like 30,000 units by like next Friday. By next Friday, and like the form that they sent me to fill out, it's like, who's your technology person? Me. Who's your, your drop shipper? Me. Who's your this? And I just was like copy and pasting my information. This was many years ago before I had people working with me. And I just remember laughing to myself, like, they're so not used to working with true small businesses that they didn't even know how to modify their structure for me. And one of the retailers that I did work with and did have a collection with, a problem popped up when it came to payment, because in order for them to release a check, two people for the business have to sign off on it. Well, how does that work if it's just me? And I had to get my husband to sign off. Because they literally would not release the money, because they said that their standard like protocol is it has to be signed by like a CFO and like the CEO, and it can't be the same person. So that was a time that it really showed me, one, I was proud of myself for truly breaking into a space that a lot of people like me have not been able to break into or haven't had as many opportunities. But it was definitely also a reminder that there is so much work to be done in the fashion retail space and working with a lot of big brands. The expectation is you only get these opportunities unless you have a fully scaled team, business, etc. And that can make you definitely feel imposter syndrome. And I've had to say no to some opportunities because I just can't handle it. Even with, my small team, they are truly like, they operate with 30,000, 50,000 units. And to even have those opportunities, you have to have a lot of money. Lot of money. So, that can make you feel down when you have prayed for certain opportunities and they come and you're like, wait, I actually can't handle this. Or for some reason, this can't happen right now. So you will feel like a small fish in a big pond.
Karina, can you relate to that?
Oh my God. Totally. 100%. Story of my life. Kind of, even though I also have people working with me, I'm still pretty much doing everything by myself. And yeah, it makes you feel so small. But I have that also when I see competitors, like bigger competitors. That's why I keep blocking them. because I don't want to be confronted with that every day, because I know that I'm also very good at talking myself down. And then my mind kind of like takes over, and that's not good. Not good at all. So that's when I feel like really small.
I think around being small, before I get into this last question, in business, it's interesting because as entrepreneurs, we always have to feel like we have it kind of all together all the time. And when these big box businesses approach you, they feel like you have to have it together too. And then they don't have grace with these small businesses, even though they know it's a small business. So it's
sometimes
really
they
odd.
don't. I don't think. I don't. I feel like if they would truly know that you're a small business, they would just act differently.
So you're saying they assume you're bigger than
exactly.
what you are.
I don't think they do their research. They find you somewhere, and then they assume you're a big business, and then they don't do their research.
This is true. But I feel like the industry, or lots of industries, don't provide space for people just being like, I don't have that person. It's just me. This is a very small business. And this is something that Karina, I've noticed you do when we are talking to larger retailers or people that have high expectations. You're like, look, it's just, this is a small team. And you level set. You don't try to fake it.
At some point, I have to tell them, because,
right.
I mean, how else are they supposed to know?
Yeah. And there are a lot of entrepreneurs, and I think let's just talk about women entrepreneurs that don't want to say that, because it's the fake it till you make it mindset of like, let's just act like we have it all. We got the things in place. All the puzzle pieces are in order. And we're not going to show this other brand that we're that small. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I appreciate when people can just say, hey, we're not there.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So it's something to learn from. If you could, Pamela, prevent mompreneurs from making a certain mistake, what would that be?
The first thing that comes to my mind is really reflecting back on giving birth to my first child, my daughter. And one of the challenges that I find when it comes to being a mompreneur is being prepared for the type of opportunities that you want, but then also realizing like you are a small operation. But if I could give advice based off of my experiences, is to try to build your business in a way that you are truly ready for opportunities that can give you explosive growth. And what I mean by that is to try to build whatever systems and processes so that if you end up giving birth, unexpectedly or at a time period that your entire business hopefully isn't shut down. And I know funding comes into play, et cetera, and like whether you have a team, but if you do have the ability to even use like contractors or virtual assistants, like try to set up systems. And it doesn't have to be fancy. It could be a running Google Doc and say like, this is what I tend to do, templates of like customer service email responses, or just whatever mini system you can develop so that someone can come in and help you at the drop of a dime is really, really, really important. And it's hard to build a plane while you're flying it because you're so focused on trying to steer things. But taking that time now and recently so that I can be able to delegate some aspects has been incredibly helpful. And also recognizing that delegation doesn't only have to exist in your business. If you have the means and you are able to delegate house cleaning, delegate,
Yeah.
groceries and have groceries delivered to you and save yourself that time on going to the store, or whatever version of delegation may look right for you in your life. I encourage you to do it, because it truly helps to free more time for yourself. And you have to take a step away from this. Oh, instead of spending X amount of dollars, like, I can do that. Let me just do this. Let me do this. And I know I could do it better than some of these other people, but how much time are you losing to work on other things that you want? So find a way to scale and delegate would be my top responses to that.
I love that. Yeah, it's important to create systems and processes. Absolutely. Thank you for that advice. And thank you for joining us on Mom Life Unfiltered. It's been a pleasure talking to you and having you on the show.
Thank you, Pamela.
Thank you, Karina. Thank you, Malika.